Hello everyone, this is Showtime 112. 10th of June 1941 marked the third day of the Commonwealth campaign in Syria and Lebanon, then held by Vichy French forces. British leadership had hoped for only token resistance, but instead, Vichy units fought with determination, so much so that Commonwealth ground forces frequently requested direct RAF support. Despite this heavy resistance, Australian, Indian, and Free French forces slowly advanced north. For a detailed introduction to the 1941 Syrian campaign and the aerial battles of the first 2 days, check out our previous episodes. Vichy French air units were reinforced on 10th of June by 9 Lioré et Olivier, Leo 451 bombers of GB-131. They arrived from France via Brindisi, Italy. 4 additional aircraft failed to arrive due to various difficulties, although 3 of those would reach Syria shortly afterwards. The Leo 451 was a modern medium bomber that had seen service during the 1940 Battle of France. Only a limited number were available for that campaign, but production continued after the armistice, and the type later served with both Vichy and Free French forces. The bomber was capable of speeds approaching 500 km per hour and could carry more than 1,500 kilograms of bombs. Meanwhile, in France, a further 10 De Watine D520s and 4 MS-406s were released for the transfer to Syria as reinforcements. American-built Martin 167 bombers of GB-139 flew several reconnaissance missions in the Damascus-Deraa area. Only the third such flight was intercepted. 2 Tomahawks of Royal Australian Air Force No. 3 Squadron were scrambled, but before they could position themselves for an attack, the French aircraft, having entered Palestinian airspace, was shot down by anti-aircraft artillery. The crew was killed. Despite this loss, the French unit flew 5 additional sorties against Commonwealth ground forces and another 5 against British warships north of Sidon. The remaining obsolete Bloch MB-200 bombers were used in a night mission, attacking vehicles south of Saint-Nazaire. Unlike the previous day, 10th of June 1941 saw no dogfights. The following day, 11th of June, the Armée de l'Air doubled its effort to hold the Allied advance. Groupe de Chasse 17, equipped with MS-406 fighters, flew 21 sorties against Free French forces in the Kisweh region. 1 aircraft was damaged by ground fire. The unit was evacuated from Estabel, which had become too close to the front line. However, their new base at Homs proved too distant from the action, so a detachment of 6 aircraft was sent to Rayak, Lebanon. The newly arrived GB-131 deployed 4 of their Leo 451s to bomb vehicles south of Damascus. Their D520 escort arrived too late. By the time the bombing run was completed, night was falling, and the flight leader decided to land at Damascus Meze airfield, fearing they would not be able to locate their home base in the dark. Unbeknownst to him, Damascus Meze had already been abandoned by Vichy forces and rendered unusable with various obstacles. 3 of the 4 Leo 451 bombers were destroyed in landing accidents. The only air-to-air claim on 11th of June was made by Hurricane pilot officer William Vail of 80 Squadron, one of the top RAF scorers of the Greek campaign. Vail claimed the destruction of a Potez 63. However, French records indicate that only a single Potez was intercepted that day during a reconnaissance flight over the Merjayoun, Sidon, Nakura area, and it was hit by only 2 machine gun rounds. With Commonwealth ground units pressing the RAF for direct support, even the tactical reconnaissance aircraft of No. 208 Squadron were tasked with strafing missions. 2 Hurricanes flew to Rosh Pina at 6 a.m., but both sustained damage from ground fire. Flying Officer Makrosti crash-landed on a hillside after his oil cooler was hit. The 12th of June saw a particularly interesting air encounter for 2 reasons. First, it marked the initial involvement of a Luftwaffe unit in the campaign. Second, it resulted in the first recorded aerial victories for the P-40. On that date, No. 3 Squadron Royal Australian Air Force provided air cover for the 15th Royal Navy Cruiser Squadron patrolling off the Lebanese coast. During their second mission, which began at 2:50 p.m., they encountered 8 Junkers Ju-88 bombers attempting to attack the ships. The Australian pilots mistakenly identified the aircraft as Italian. In reality, they belonged to Luftwaffe 2nd Gruppe Lehrgeschwader 1, operating from Crete. The Junkers not only failed to damage the ships, but also suffered losses. Three Australian pilots, Squadron Leader Peter Jeffrey, Flight Lieutenant John Perrin, and Flying Officer John Saunders claimed victories, while 2 additional bombers were believed to have been damaged. German records confirmed 2 of these claims. One Ju-88 was flown by Lieutenant Dickjobst and another by Rolf Benewitz. As mentioned, these were the first aerial victories achieved by the P-40 Warhawk, although Commonwealth forces did not use that designation, instead referring to early variants as Tomahawk and later ones as Kitty Hawk. Vichy forces lost 2 of their most advanced fighters, the Watine D-520s, during a strafing mission. Escadrille commander Captain Émile Jacobi led a patrol on armed reconnaissance over Deraa in search of British troops and vehicles. 3 de Watines were hit, and Jacobi ultimately crashed 6 kilometers south of Sidon. Another D-520 crash-landed at Rayak, although its pilot survived uninjured. At 6 p.m., 6 Hurricanes of No. 80 Squadron escorted Blenheims on a bombing mission against Rayak. En route, they spotted 2 French aircraft. Sergeant Wallace reported hitting one and causing its engine to emit smoke. He broke off the attack after his Hurricane was hit by return fire. No corresponding French report exists for that date. However, one from the following day, 13 June, may match the encounter. On that day, 4 Leopard 451 bombers of GP-131, escorted by MS-406s, were tasked with attacking British cruisers of the 15th Cruiser Squadron, but were intercepted by Hurricanes. One rear gunner reported hitting a Hurricane with a 20mm cannon and causing it to trail black smoke. The French bombers returned with one crew member wounded. It's possible the report was misdated and actually refers to Wallace's engagement. Another Leopard 451 was lost in a landing accident after sunset, this time at Rayak. This was part 3 of our video series covering the Syria and Lebanon campaign of 1941. If you enjoyed it and would like to see the rest, let us know in the comments. And as always, keep watching Showtime 112.